So I thought it'd be a really good idea if I yelled at Bob, and that'd be a good incentive. And if you do it in front of people, then everybody else knows don't do what Bob did. And so right away, Bob quits. I'm like, oh, shoot, he was my best guy.
Welcome to You're the Boss podcast show. And today I have with me Glenn Bostock. Now, Glenn's story is one of remarkable success, shaped by his experiences with learning disabilities and adversity during his school years. Glenn went on to found Snapcab, an award-winning company that manufactures elevator interiors and custom privacy pods. Today, the company is the leader in the industry and employs over 140, I would say, happy people across its manufacturing facilities in the United States and Canada. So welcome, Glenn. It's nice to have you on the show.
Hey, Angie, thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Or it's Angela. How do you?
Angie.
Ange.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ange.
No problem.
That's the
Okay,
first thing to
so
do is mess up the host's name.
we're going to have a good podcast today. Okay, so we've met before. So we were preparing for
Mhm.
this story and this podcast, and your story is really inspiring. And I just love your philosophy for work and everything. So we'll get onto that in a while, but how did it all start? You talked about your childhood and your
Okay.
school stuff. So what happened basically?
Okay. So if I give you the quick download of kind of my life journey, I was a really happy kid. Ended up having I realized in first grade there was something different about me because my first grade teacher put folding screens around my desk so I couldn't see out the window or my classmates. I just could see the board in front of me. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And it turned out by the time fourth grade came around, I was really struggling in school. And so I spent a good bit of the day out being tutored. And by the time I was in eighth grade, they discovered I had hypoglycemia and was dyslexic, reading. I was reading cross-eyed. I was having and that looking back on it, and I used to get hives in school. And looking back on it, I thought my problem was I had all these learning disabilities, but I realized that my problem was how my peers treated me. And when I was outside of school, I did really well. We did all kinds of creative things, building forts and doing all kinds of building flying machines and things, kind of high-end engineering things. But in school, I just could barely function. And it was because of how my classmates treated me. And I realized, okay, now that have my own business, I'm not going to recreate that for my
Mm.
workers. And actually, that's not true. I did recreate that for my workers because when I first went into business, I thought, well, they're here for me. I'm paying for them. They better give me what I'm looking for. And actually, I had a similar attitude around my wife. And about 14 years into my business, my opportunities were growing, which meant my company was growing, but my ability to manage people wasn't growing. And I ended up getting some mentoring where, um, you learn through problems. And I had this huge opportunity because at the time we were getting into elevator remodeling as a cabinet maker, got into elevator remodeling, and Otis Elevator found us, loved our system, and they gave us a national contract. So as the company started to grow, I was trying to get my custom cabinet makers to just work faster to supply a nation's worth of
My
elevator
goodness.
interiors. And it was just the wheels were just falling off the cart. And I was trying to, so I had this guy named Bob. And Bob, he skipped a quality check and sent a job to Mexico, and he'd messed up the job. So I thought it'd be a really good idea if I yelled at Bob, and that'd be a good incentive. And if you do it in front of people, then everybody else knows don't do what Bob did. And so right away, Bob quits. I'm like, oh shoot, he was my best guy. It's like, well, there must be a better way of doing this. So this mentor of mine was pointing out that people are led by what they love. And I was like, well, I know I'm led by what I love. And around the same time, I was sent to a lean manufacturing school by Otis Elevator. where the Japanese were teaching it. Mr. Ito was teaching that the gold is in the problems. If you can identify the problems and have it brought to the surface, then you can mistake-proof your system. And I realized I was punishing my people for having problems. They're not gonna bring up problems. The other thing I realized, I was treating my employees like prisoners. The way the way you control people in a prison is through fear and in punishment. And I realized, oh, I'm treating my employees as if they're prisoners, knowing that I'm not incentivized that way. So over a period of time, I just got a new philosophy and I decided to drop all punishment, no more doing my best to not get mad at my employees. And if I do, I take that as that's my fault. So we started this new philosophy of we reward for mistakes. Oh, so we started rewarding for mistakes. So Bob messed up another job that went to Hawaii.
Did Bob come back
So
then?
I sent Bob and his wife to Hawaii to fix the job for one day, and then he spent the rest of the week all expense paid trip to Hawaii. So guess what was more incentivizing for Bob, getting yelled at or going to Hawaii with his wife?
Yeah.
Then he helped me mistake proof that system, and the problem we had was we put the wrong material on the ceiling we'd sent out, and since then, we've got a process because of that where we check all the material as it comes in, and we check it, is it the right material? Is it free of defects? Because there's no point in building something if it has defects. So out of that, and after, I've been in business for 42 years. 25 years of it has been doing what we call a human business. And it's through a school of hard knocks that we've established that we have 5 things that we do. We start by creating a foundation of caring, and we do that in a variety of different ways. Then we hire people for what they love to do because we know that people are led by what they love.
Yeah.
So rather than hiring for skills, we're hiring for instead of hiring for skills and experience, we're hiring for what they love to do. And then embrace problems and weakness. That's the third thing we do. So we reward people for mistakes. So if we have a system of rewarding people for mistakes, so they bring them up, and then we give people time and materials to mistake proof our processes. And then the last thing we do is we run a lot of companies run their businesses as if it's a sports team and we're competing with each other. At our company, we run it as if it's your body, and we have manufacturing here and the leadership here. I know if I have a pebble in my shoe, but in most businesses, they don't know if there's something going wrong in their business because there's very few information channels that go up to the head. It's mostly information going down like a
Yeah.
benevolent dictatorship.
Yeah.
So that's it in a nutshell. So that's what we're doing. And I started out with when we started this, I had about 6 employees, and now I have 140 doing tens of millions of dollars. And we have a plant in outside of Philadelphia, PA, and one in Kingston, Ontario, and a lot of very loyal employees that make this all go. So that's the nutshell.
Okay. So was there a defining, well, you say when Bob left, was that the defining moment for you where you decided to change everything or?
Um, I think when Bob left, and I was also having troubles in my marriage. What happened was right around that time I went to see this mentor of mine, and he was giving a talk, and he was giving a talk about the 12 steps. You've heard of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous?
Mm.
Well, this was instead of being addicted to alcohol, he was talking about being addicted to anger and resentment. And I felt those things all the time. So I took his form and I liked it because like, oh, there's a system here. Well, I can do a system. And I tried working the form and working it myself. And I ended up having to go see him because I couldn't see where I owned any part of what, I knew I was doing everything right. It was everybody else that was doing everything wrong. And then he ended up mentoring and pointing out, like, well, maybe I did have a part in this. And he ended up, like, and over time, I've realized, right, I'm frequently the one that's causing the problems. And I learned to be more self-aware, I guess.
Yeah.
where I could look at myself. Now I feel like I can stand outside of myself and look at myself kind of like I'm in a movie or something and go, well, that actor is not doing a very good job. I think he likes feeling right.
Okay.
And so I think being able to do that leads to being able to be a better leader.
Nice. Okay. Nice. So, tell me about your systems as well, because I remember you saying that you have kind of like a board at work wherein
Right,
they can
right,
feedback things. How does that work?
right, right. So I've been to Japan numerous times. And there's when they say you should go to the gemba where the problems are. And the gemba in Japanese, that means the actual place. So if you're watching the news in Gemba, if you're watching the news in Japan and you saw the news reporter by the car accident, he'd be saying, I'm at the Gemba of the accident, meaning I'm
Right.
right at the place.
Right.
So if I got a pebble in my shoe, my brain knows it because the Gemba of my foot is sending a message through my nervous system that I
Yeah.
would call my management team that,
Right.
hey, there's a problem in my foot.
Right.
And then I would get the stone out of my shoe. Well, on our factory floor, we have all these boards. They're very simple boards. They're about maybe 2 feet by 2 feet or 3 feet by 3 feet. And they have rows by topics like tools, work instructions, safety, things like the things that they're involved with.
Right.
And every time, like, they're like, oh, this tool keeps breaking on me. So when it breaks, they'll put it up as a post-it note on one of the rows. And then every day, the management team comes around and goes to every one of these boards. There's about 14 boards spread out between the office and the factory, and everyone in the factory tells the management team what's going wrong. And when they tell you what's going wrong, they don't fix it right then. It's just like an awareness. It's kind of like, oh, there's a pebble in my shoe. Now, I'm not doing anything about the pebble yet. It's sort of like, oh, if I had an itch, it's like, well, I don't know if it's worth itching it or not, but there's an awareness of what's going on. And when they do that, we give them a ticket. So we have a little carnival tickets, the carnival tickets that say
Yeah.
admit one.
Yeah.
Well, those have a number on each one of them. So you can see how many of these tickets you give out during the month. So we
Right.
usually give out, 3 to 400 of those tickets per month.
Okay.
And whoever puts the most, we call them turnbacks. You might call it a mistake, but we call those, if there's something that hinders you from the flow of work that turns you back, that's called a turnback. It could be how the receptionist answers the phone, or it could be they can't find their tool, or they can't remember the host of your podcast's name. Same things. That's pot
Right.
is hindering the flow of what we're trying to get done here. So they collect these tickets, and every month we have a company meeting. Whoever has the most tickets gets a spin at a prize wheel, and then they might get a day's vacation or a gift certificate to take their family out to a restaurant or something like that. So we're trying to. We don't reward for solutions, but we do give people time and material. We give them the better part, I think it's about an hour a day to improve their work area, and we get them the materials to do that, so they're constantly improving their systems
Right.
so that the factory runs really smoothly because there's a tool within each reach, and they have exactly what they need.
Yeah,
And,
'cause I think, like, when you're getting the feedback from the people on the ground that's actually doing it and doing the
that's
work,
right.
that's where the solutions are gonna be found, right? And
That's
the
right.
mistakes are gonna be identified, the problems identified, and
That's
then
right.
they can also come up with the solutions as well because 'cause they're in it,
That's right.
they're doing it, right?
That's right.
So I found that as well. I mean, I agree with you completely. Like systems are so important in running a company. And I had this, I'll tell you a story I had with my business at one time. I had an admin assistant who underquoted for a job. And the reason being was that we were a copywriting agency, but our
Mhm.
client wanted a design for a brochure as well as the writing of the brochure. So we outsourced the design, we did the writing in-house. And um, she got a quote from an agency to do the design, and the quote came in for per one brochure, this price. And
Okay.
there were 5 brochures. So instead of timesing by 5, she quoted for 1, but she
One.
quoted
Right.
5, right? So 5 brochures designed this. So it was under,
It's quite a loss
it's a lot, underquoted by
by a
5
lot.
times. Yeah. So because we had systems in place, then it was a case of, okay, well, what went wrong? What caused that to happen? And how can we fix it? How can we make sure it doesn't happen again? So, I believe that when you have systems in place and something goes wrong, you can look at the system, right?
Right.
And
That's
then
right.
try
Yeah.
and fix it rather than blame the staff,
Right.
right?
That's right.
So, obviously she made a mistake. She didn't do that. But then we put a system in place that for all quotes that have a third party involved, right, where we actually lose money.
Right.
If we quoted for 5, if we quoted just for 1 brochure and did 5 in terms of writing, yes, it's a loss, but it's a loss of time because we had the
Right.
writers in-house, right?
Right.
So that wouldn't have been such a problem, but because we had to go and pay the designer, regardless of how we
That's
quoted, we
right.
the designer. So we lost money, right? So being able to, instead of blaming her, being able to say, okay, well, how can we stop this happening again? And then involving her in the solution and saying, come up with a way that we can not have this happen again. So then it was decided that all third party quotes would have to be checked over by a second person. So
Right.
you have to get someone
Right.
else to
That's
look and say,
great.
yeah.
Great
And then
solution.
so then it's like, well, you've done 5 and you've done
Right.
1, actually 5, right?
Right.
That
Right.
kind of thing. So there's always, if you, this is, I believe, this is always, if you have the system in place, you
That's
you
right.
don't end up blaming the staff. But then
That's
if
right.
the staff didn't follow the system, that's a different
That's right.
matter, right?
So we would call that a B solution. It's a checklist, which is what most of our systems are. We have an A solution, which is mistake proofed.
Mm,
I just built an apartment onto our house,
mm,
and I've always been frustrated with putting a mirror in a bathroom, and it always is foggy. So
right.
I had the plumber put a coil of the hot water that went to the shower. I had him put a coil behind the mirror and then to the hot shower.
Okay.
So now you can't take a shower without warming the mirror.
Okay.
So that's like an example of A solution. A B solution would be a checklist, and a C solution would just be head knowledge. It's like, well, let's just not do that again. But that's going to repeat the problem, right? Oh,
Yeah.
uh, and the other thing, my attitude has changed around mistakes because I thought when I was younger that if you get enough schooling and you learn enough things and you mistake proof things enough, then you'll be all done with the problems. But I've noticed as the company grows, the problems just keep growing and growing along with it. And we've taken on the attitude that we need problems to grow.
Uh, okay.
So if you have the attitude to expect problems, and that's where fourth our fourth principle of be authentic, meaning, well, be authentic and basically embrace problems and weakness because that's how you're going to learn.
Mm, mm, mm.
So we're pretty chip. I mean, it's frustrating when things happen, but if you get back and be a little self-reflective, like, well, what have we grown around here without a problem? Well, actually, we've grown nearly everything here because of problems. Like, well,
Yeah.
why don't we could get the benefit of the problem without going through ruining our relationships with each other and going home with
Yeah.
a lot of anxiety.
And then there's this Japanese thing, I can't remember what it's called now, but of like continual improvement, right? It's never done. It's
The
always continued.
Kaizen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, Kaizen means there's all these the Japanese have they have a word that I don't remember for self-reflection, which is really important. But then they have another word, like you go to the Gemba, and then we talk about turnbacks, but then you take the turn back and then you decide, let's do something about this. So let's do a Kaizen. And a Kaizen just means a change for the good.
Okay.
So I'm not quite sure why we use these Japanese words, but we mix them in with what we're doing. But we
Yeah.
change things for the better.
Mm. Yeah. It's worth following for sure, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about, like you mentioned earlier, about treating the business like a body. Can you tell me
Yes.
what the parts are for that?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still figuring it out myself, but but I just know that your body works in harmony,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And I know the leadership mostly is coming from your head. I've learned that your heart actually works somewhat independently of your brain. Like it'll keep pumping on its own. Um, the So eyes and ears, you could think of your mouth and face as like marketing and branding.
okay.
Like you're branding yourself to me right now because we're
Yeah.
we're branding ourselves to each other because we're
Yeah.
getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And manufacturing operations, I would say, is in your torso. You've got finance, you might consider being your stomach, and your heart and lungs are really neat because they're such a good illustration of things that are codependent. Okay, here's another concept that I think is my favorite concept about this human business idea. The idea is that if you're working with a group of people, that you should be able to do your life purpose, whatever you really want to do in your life, better with a group of people. So let's say your heart really wants to do a good job of pumping blood. But what's the point if the blood isn't oxygenated by the lungs? And the lungs really wants to oxygenate blood, but it's on its own, it's kind of pointless without. So they have this partnership with each other, completely different organs that can't neither of them can do their job without the other. And I love that idea of, cooperation. And I think you could find that cooperation pretty much everywhere through the business. So if you looked at your coworkers like, oh my gosh, I get to go to work. And we've hired people for a love of building a community. I get to go to work where people like me and they're constantly appreciating me. One of the things that we do, well, we do a couple of things for people to feel appreciated. One is we have a morning meeting, and that there's like a factory morning meeting, there's an office morning meeting. And so let's say in the office, they take turns doing this morning of running the meeting. And so when it's my turn to run the meeting, I'll put a slide up about myself and I'll spend 3 or 4 minutes talking about my hobbies or my family so
Okay.
people get to know me better.
Yeah.
And then we do a roll call. We actually do a stretch as a group,
Hmm.
and then we go through some business KPIs, some key indicators of like, are our sales where they need to be, and are we doing what we said we were going to do
Is that every morning?
every morning for 15.
Okay. Okay. And how long have you been doing that?
I'd say maybe three, 3 or 4 years, maybe. We've done them on and off, but we've really done it seriously for like I think the last at least 3 years.
And what would you say is the difference in the business from starting that practice? How has it helped the business?
I would say everybody is a lot more friendly towards each other, and they're acting a lot more like a team because every day there's like a team huddle.
Yeah.
I would say before that, there was a lot more of an attitude of like, "Oh, I did my job, kind of leave me alone." It's like, "Hey, I need help over here." "Oh, that's not my job."
Oh,
And now I would say there's this real feeling of everybody's appreciated and everybody benefits from that.
yeah. I mean, it's so important, right? Because you spend so much of your life at work, right? A good portion of your day, every day is at work. And if it's a place where you don't enjoy it, that's not a good place to be. So
Right,
if you actually
right.
enjoy your work, yeah,
That's right. I understand that two-thirds of employees are disengaged at work.
yeah, yeah.
I've heard this stat, two-thirds of employees are disengaged at work, and an engaged worker is 3 times more productive than a disengaged worker. So if you think of the productivity difference, and I think one of the main so we call this a human business. I'm writing a book on this. I was writing a book for my employees because I'm 65 this year. I'm trying to figure out what am I going to do eventually because I'm not going to do this forever. And I'd like the company to carry on without me. So
Right.
I wrote a book. It's kind of a constitution for them. And now we're going to, but Forbes Books is actually publishing it. They said they haven't, this is very fresh. They haven't seen anything like this.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. Shoot, I lost see, this is why I got to retire. Lost my thread here. So it's just that most businesses, if you looked up what the purpose of a business was, I asked AI this the other day. I asked AI, what's the purpose of business? And it said to create value. And I said, well, to create value for who? And they said, well, for the business owner. And I'm like, well, that would explain why 2/3 of the employees are disengaged. You would think it would be for creating value for the customer because that's the
Yeah.
purpose of being in business. And
ChatGPT failed.
yeah. So, and there was an economist, Milton Friedman, back in 1970, wrote this paper called a Friedman Doctrine, where he said it's the moral obligation of corporations to first take care of the shareholders.
Uh-uh.
And I think corporations really took that to heart, but it is not a way to incentivize employees.
No.
I
Was
think
it Richard Branson, I think, who said if you take care of your employees and then your customers will take care of if you take care
yeah,
of your
the money
employees, the customers will be
the,
taken care of, right?
that's right. If you take care of your employees and they take care of the customers, the money will take care of itself. I'm not sure if that's what he said, but I think that's true. I think you're going to do better financially, but I think money and happiness are both similar in if you make happiness your focus, somehow it keeps eluding you, and if you make money your focus, somehow that eludes you as well. But if you make being useful to other people your focus, somehow you end up becoming happy and you make money,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Very
people want to succeed.
nice. Nice, nice, nice. And then just remind me of your what are those principles that you have in your business? You had 3 or 4
Well,
principles, didn't you
yeah,
say?
there was 5 of them,
Oh, okay.
and there's 3 values.
Okay.
The values are kind of a summary of the principles.
Right.
Really briefly, the principles are create a foundation of caring, understand your ruling love, focus on being useful, embrace problems and weakness, and run your business after the human form. Our values are a lot simpler. Be kind, be authentic, and be useful.
That's the
If
one I was
people are being kind, being authentic, and being useful,
yeah.
and I would say the people that have trouble at our company are if you're working at Snapcab and you're making it difficult for your coworkers to want to come to work, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But
So
if
what would
you're
you do if that was the case? If you had someone like that, what's the process in
well,
deciding getting
we
them to
coach
either
them.
toe the line or they're out? Is it
Yeah. Well, we coach them, and then we coach them, and then eventually we'll give a performance improvement plan. But it's really a 3-month period where we're saying we're really going to make sure we trained you up the way we should have. Maybe we didn't you didn't understand what the goal was here. And then we want to understand what you love to do, and we want to make sure that we have a fit here.
uh,
But if there's not a fit, then you have 3 months to find a job somewhere else,
right.
or unfortunately, we might let you go,
Yeah.
or maybe we do find a fit, and that often happens, and then we just continue on.
I mean, I love this principle you have, and just I think a lot of business owners, especially when they're starting off as a small business, and maybe you've got a few staff and they're all doing a lot of things, right, to keep things going. But if you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole, that's not going to work, right? And making people do things just because they're there as a body rather than
That's
it's
right.
because they want to do it.
That's
That's a
right.
recipe for disaster because eventually they're because you're trying to force people to do something that's not naturally in
That's
them,
right.
right? To do.
That's right. I
Yeah.
paid you, and this is the job I need done, so do it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
And
long
it could be that they could do it. This is the thing as well, is that sometimes that they have the skill to do it,
yeah,
but they don't enjoy it because it's not
that's
naturally
right.
it's like trying to force someone to be a salesperson,
That's right.
and maybe they could be good at it, maybe they would
Right.
actually get the sales in, but if they dread every moment of it,
Yeah.
they're eventually gonna leave.
Here, we want you to do cold calling now.
I
And
made
here,
that
listen to
mistake.
no over and over and over again.
I made that mistake with my very first employee. And it was
Really?
because at the time I didn't understand that there are different types of people. There are basically four main different types of people. You can split it off in even more. But so she was my admin person. So she answered the phone, she talked to clients, she did all the quotes and invoicing, stuff like that, right? So it's all the admin stuff. And then I thought, she must be really bored. She's doing the same thing every day.
Yeah.
I would not like to do the same thing
Yeah,
every
that's
day,
right.
right? So I thought, oh, 'cause she must be bored out of her brain. I've got to find her something interesting to do. So I gave her cold calling, and it was obviously the worst thing I could possibly have done, right? Because she didn't want that at all, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I'm still messing up things. I'm discovering this year that I gave a lot of attention to my top leaders, but I didn't train my middle managers well. So that's kind
okay.
of my project this year.
Okay.
But I've been doing this for 42 years, 43 years, and
Yeah.
I'm
Still
still
learning. Yeah.
figuring it out.
I wonder as well, this has just crossed my mind because you have now like different generations and they obviously
Hmm.
think very differently as well. So as you're getting younger workers coming in, is that now would that create new problems that you have to now kind of need to think of something out different here now
Well,
because
I'm gonna probably sound, here's what we've done because people want a flexible work life, right? I read an article in the Harvard Business Journal that I thought was quite good, that you can pay people in a variety of ways. That you can pay people in money, you can pay people in extra vacation days, you can pay people in extra unpaid vacation days if they want to take extra time off. You can pay people from working home part-time or full-time. So now I've got a system where if somebody wants to work from home, it's about 4% of their pay per day as a bonus. So they realize it's not benefiting us for you to be working from home. That's your benefit. So it's like part of your pay if
okay,
you're working from home,
right.
if it works out at all for your
Yeah.
position.
Yeah.
Obviously, a factory, somebody that's building our product can't do that from their home, but
No.
maybe an engineer could,
Okay.
you know. So
Yeah, so you're constantly having to adapt to, I mean, business always changes, right? Times change, things change. So it's a constant adapting to a moving environment, right? So that's why you can never say that you've got it all figured out.
no, but if you're clear about what your business is about and
Mm,
what your expectations are, you know, there's 8 billion people on the planet. I don't think you have to accept everybody. I know the way I described my business, it sounds wonderful because we're trying to give people a life purpose at work, but
yeah.
that only fits for a very narrow group of people.
Right.
Most people that would come to work there would find out that there's not a fit. So
Okay.
I'm not gonna try to make it work for people if it's not working for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would rather I don't wanna waste their time or my time.
Mm,
I'd rather find somebody that likes it. We want people in the office to build a community of people, so we look
yeah.
at our workforce as a community. And, people there's a lot of businesses where you can work from home, and we're just not one of the ones that's
Well,
not
your
our
business
goal.
isn't
We
really
might
set up.
accommodate you, but it's not really what our goal is.
No, not for a
So
manufacturing company. You can't.
right.
You
That's right,
need
that's right.
Okay, so just to sum up, right, from the beginning of the business, when you set up the business first,
Mhm.
now, right, what would you say are the main differences and how has
I
your
think
philosophy
oh, that's
helped?
such a good question. When I started out the first person I hired was a bookkeeper because I hated that part of the job the
Yeah,
most.
yeah, we do.
Then I ended up hiring salespeople because I didn't enjoy that part either.
Yeah,
But mostly the part where people built things, I was a cabinet maker, so I was building the work myself, and I was trying to get people that were like mini me's,
yeah.
and and it- and they're never going to be better than me, and it's always like mini me's working for me, and that wasn't a good mindset.
That was my mistake as well. When I said, I didn't realize there were different types of people. I was trying
Right,
to recruit mini me's as well, which, yeah, it doesn't
right,
work.
right. I've actually had an epiphany just recently that I'm going to try rolling out on my company. It's actually quite new because I'm always surprised at the things that we need done and what people really want to do. And seeing there's a gap between what we need done and what people want to do. This is very fresh this week, but let me try this on you and see what you
Okay.
think.
Okay.
I think that there's three major parts of a company. So I'm thinking about like a 50-person company.
Mm.
And even if you're a one-person company, I think you'd have to have all three of these things inside of you, one person. I think that the main things that have to happen at a company is there needs to be somebody that's very goal-oriented. Whether you have a goal of getting the job out the door or you have a goal of building a structure inside of the company, you want to know what's the beginning date and there's an end date and we're going to hit it and I know I reached my goal. And then there's these other people that are these rhythm people, like the finance department and the HR people, and they're not hitting goals. It just goes on all the time, but they're doing what makes the company go. They always have to pay the payroll, and you know, and then there's this last one is sort of governing the company. I think there's one more beyond this, but you need somebody who's governing, and it's not their job to go and do any of the work, but it's like, are we keeping our promise? Are we, did we, do we have a set of values and are we living them? Do people know what their job description, like, is this thing operating the way we think it should? And I think, and then there's usually like an entrepreneur that says, hey, we're going to go to this market. We're going to go do this. And they're usually goal oriented people
Yeah.
and not very organized, but you
Yeah.
need a governing person right under the entrepreneurial person.
Yeah. I've had this explained to me by a psychologist. She's a coach, but her background is in psychology. And she explains it in, she's got this thing of four cats, and I can't remember what the four cats are. I just know that one is the cheetah. So fast moving, fast
Oh,
decision
okay.
making, right? Kind of thing. So let's go, right? Then you've got, and so she explained it in the case of four cats, like lion is a bit more laid back or whatever. And I can't remember now which of the cats they were, but it was basically, then she explained it as if you were organizing a barbecue, right? And the cats are basically, it's the what, who, how, and when, or something like
Okay,
that.
right.
So the what is the decision maker. The what is the person with the ideas, like usually the A type person that's going, okay, let's have a barbecue, right? That's it. That's my job's done.
Right.
I came up with the idea.
Yeah, have barbecue. Now you guys deal with it.
Yeah. And then the who person is, okay, well, who are we going to get to do what? Who's coming? All that kind of stuff. That's the people person, right? And then there's the person that organizes everything. As long as they've got a to-do list, then they'll just go and action it. So then that person will actually send all the invites out and whatever, buy the food and that kind of stuff. And then I can't remember what the fourth one was, but basically it was like, just leave me alone.
And
Let
they'll
me do my
probably
stuff, right?
let me do my thing. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I have those people. Absolutely. Well, I think that I think, what I would like to do is reinvent how business gets done. And I have a feeling, I know at our house, the governor of my house is my wife. And almost all like the collaborators are usually women, and the people that go out and like are goal oriented are the guys. And like
Yeah.
I have some people for me that are in leadership positions, but they're really like doing an awesome job, focused on getting like projects done, which are hugely valuable. But then there's other people going, what are we doing here as a group? And you
Yeah.
need somebody that's sort of like the cheerleader and what's
Yes.
that person look sad over there?
Yeah.
I don't, it's like somebody would say, that person looks sad. It's like, oh, really? You know, I'd
Yeah.
have noticed that. I
It's true.
just,
It's like some people will notice that they're more feeling kind of person. They'll pick up on the vibes, and other people that maybe the more goal orientated won't see it.
that's right. So
Yeah,
there's this variety of people
yeah,
that you need to run an organization.
yes. And you can't just hire versions of you. That's not going to work.
That's right. And that was my first go at it.
Yeah,
Oh, they're a lot like me. I bet they're good. Yeah.
Okay, well, Glenn, it's been such a pleasure to talk to you today.
Sure.
And I just love the philosophy of your business, the human business.
Yes.
And when is the book coming out?
Well, the business is called Snapcab. So
Yeah.
we make elevator interiors and office pods. Then I've started in my retirement. I've started a human business media, and I have this book called A Human Business, and that's coming out. Well, it's available now for order on Amazon, and I have a website. It's my name, Glenn with two N's, glennbostock.com, and you can order, you can sign up for the book there, and you can also read a free chapter there as well.
Okay. So is it on a wait list or is it actually out and published and released?
It's on a well, if you go on Amazon, you can order it now and put it in your shopping cart, and they'll
Right.
ship it to you on June 16th.
So it's coming out June
It's
16th.
coming June
Okay.
16th.
Okay. All right. So I'll put the links to everything you've just mentioned wherever people are listening or watching this. And I would recommend, especially if you're thinking of running a business or you are running a business, getting Glenn's book is a good idea, I
Yes.
think, because
Yep.
he's his
We'd
years of
love to hear,
experience. Yeah.
and anybody that's interested in this, please contact us through our website. We'd love to hear from anybody.
Brilliant. That's
Well,
brilliant.
thank you, Ange.
All right. Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for
Okay.
the time today.
All right. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the show today. And if you've liked what you've heard, then do subscribe to the channel wherever you see it, wherever you're watching it. And if you're on YouTube, ring the bell so that you can get notified when we upload another episode so you don't miss the episodes as they come up.